I think I probably watched some weird ass shit on YouTube because I keep hearing about like this stuff about how women need to be protected and like how black women need to be with black men and all this stuff. I don't understand it, but and like where I live, we don't really have very many black people. But when I go to like a bigger city, there are black people. But then when I was a kid, I lived near black people for a little bit. It was not a positive experience because I remember when I was like in kindergarten, I was told people couldn't play with me because my parents didn't look black enough and I wasn't dark enough. And then pretty much whenever I was around black people as a kid, that's what was said to me. Even as an adult, I don't generally have positive experiences, like maybe on a one off. But then, like, the thing where they're like, because I would be classified as a black woman. And when I heard black women need black men to be protected, I'm like, what the fuck? That sounds crazy to me. I need to stay the hell away from them so they don't try and kill me. I don't know. Pretty much, I've probably had a positive experience with a black man that wasn't related to me. I just don't remember it. It's so far and few in between. Most of my experiences with black men is like violence, being attacked verbally, physically. I don't know. So, don't really understand. Oh, and I don't mean like all black men or anything, just the black men that I've met, and they were all American. But I've had positive experience with black men from other countries, but not all of them like positive. I met some crazy ass Haitians. And I don't know. But I don't know. I have nothing against black men or anything. I like black men. Yeah, black guys from Africa tend to be nice. Black guys from Europe tend to be nice, and Canada. Yeah. Yeah, so, huh. That's an interesting one. I just thought that was odd. And then there's this other thing I keep seeing on like YouTube. Like these women are talking about like they have babies with like multiple men and stuff. And it's bad enough. And it's like, I don't condone men having children with multiple women, but men are going around being slutty and stuff and whatever and sleeping around and not checking up to see, staying in a relationship to see if someone got pregnant or whatever. That's messed up, not condoning that or anything. But the fact that women are doing it, having kids with multiple people, and it's like, how, like, men necessarily wouldn't be embarrassed because most likely the woman will be stuck with the kid and the kid's probably gonna have the father's last name, or if they know who the father's last name is, or the kid, or you might have multiple kids with different last names and stuff, and the kids don't look alike, and it's like people are like, oh, are they adopted? And then you're like, no. And then it's like, how do you not feel like ashamed if like your kids don't look alike at all? They don't look like you, they don't look like their father or someone in the family, and then you're like, I don't know who my kid looks like or something. It's like to resemble at least somebody. But then when you have so many, and then like they might be different races and stuff, and it's like, that's fine to have kids of different races. Like, I remember when I was a kid, there was this TV show. It was probably in reruns, I don't know, because there were a few TV shows like that where they had kids that were adopted of all different races. I think that's great. Adopt kids, rainbow, all that. Great, beautiful. I love it. I hope to do it someday. But when you're having biological kids and then they're only like a few months, like 10 months apart or whatever and stuff. And then like I've heard like women that are like pregnant and they're dating. Like, why are you dating and you're pregnant? That's gross. It's already bad enough. You dated somebody, he dumped you or whatever, or you were never with them, a one night stand, who knows what. And then you're dating while pregnant. And then it's like, who's dating you while you're pregnant, knowingly knowing you're pregnant? And that's just like creepy. I don't understand that. And then like this cultural appropriation thing, like, I don't get that. I'm not a fan of cultural appropriation. Wait, no, I am a fan of cultural appropriation. Wait, I don't know why I said I wasn't a fan, because I actually am a fan of cultural appropriation, because everyone does it. I'm not saying just because everyone does it, do it, but if there wasn't cultural appropriation, then life would be pretty boring. Then, like, you wouldn't have any good food. It was like, I would not know what to do without cultural appropriation. Like, where it's California, it's like California is like known for cultural appropriation. It's like, well, old stuff that was Native American is still around that you don't really see or know. But then, like, Mexico, it's like California is like basically appropriate Mexican culture. What would we do without Mexican food? What would we do without Chinese food in California? If we had to give up Chinese food, Mexican food to avoid cultural appropriation or hairstyles or whatever or language, it's like, what would we speak? What would we eat? It's like in California, we speak English, we speak Spanish, we speak Chinese, we speak Tagalog, we speak so many different languages in California. And it's like, they say that I think the U.S. official language is English, but it's like, that's not going to last for long. And it's like, who doesn't speak a second language, and especially in California? And then I was like watching something on YouTube, and they were talking about how in like Louisiana, like they speak French a lot, and it's like, yeah, I love my Mexican food. I speak Spanish. I love my Chinese food. I can speak some Chinese. I can speak a few different languages. I speak Spanish fluently. When I was a kid, speaking English didn't really have a benefit for me. I needed to know how to speak Spanish. And then I speak some Chinese, but I need to work on my Chinese because I'll have more job opportunities if I speak Chinese. I need to speak some Mandarin Cantonese. I would learn some languages of India, like Urdu, Sanskrit, or Hindi or something, or Punjab, but yeah, I don't really need to speak any of those languages because everybody there speaks English. So I need to work on my Mandarin Cantonese and some Tagalog and some Russian. Those are the languages I need to work on. And I live in California, and I can improve my employment options if I speak Mandarin Cantonese, Tagalog, Russian, or French. And Spanish is another popular language in the area. But these languages aren't actually popular in my immediate area. The only language that's popular in my immediate area where I live is English, because a lot of people speak English because that's what they speak here. But if I go off into the city, the job ads say you need to speak some of those languages to work in the fields that I work in. So that's always good. Oh, I still can't get over it. Like, there's these guys, it's like, I'm like really starting to understand this whole incel thing. It's really making sense to me now. And then, because I've watched like Jordan Peterson stuff, and it was like, I didn't get it all. That, like, I understood what he was saying. It's like, everybody wants like the old fashioned thing. And like, that's great. And there's like all these lonely guys out there and everything. I get that. But then when I saw the movie Don't Worry, Darling, it put it into better perspective. Basically, like, there are these guys, they're single or whatever, and they want to have these relationships and stuff. And it's like, I don't understand. It's like, if you're an incel or whatever, why you have all that free time doing nothing? Why not get a college degree? Why not become a programmer? And then you get to all these companies, and then you work in these companies. Even before COVID, you're like right in the center of everything. Because like if you work for Twitter, Uber, Yahoo, Google, Genentech, Salesforce, and all that stuff, you're probably going to either be downtown somewhere, or Microsoft, or Apple and all that stuff. You're gonna be downtown somewhere. Because like I know in Seattle, like if you're at what is that place, what is that place, I can't think of it. Because in Seattle they have Amazon, Microsoft, and Boeing. Yeah, I think that's Boeing. Yeah, because I was at the well, I wasn't at the factory, but I was near the factory. And it's like really cool. So you take like the commuter train, and you're going to be with like a bunch of other people, and it's like you didn't see anyone, you didn't meet anyone. Like if you're in like San Francisco, San Jose, San Mateo area, or anywhere in the outer suburbs, there are the commuter buses that go there, or the commuter trains and stuff, or the company buses, and you're bound to meet somebody. And it's like you couldn't say hi to anyone and meet anyone. I don't get that, because I don't work in tech anymore, but, well, when I did work in tech, I didn't really meet anybody because I chose not to, because I was busy living my best life. But even though I don't work in tech, I would still meet people in tech, because it's like everywhere you'd still meet somebody. And then why not just get into that? If you're like doing all this stuff and they say they're online doing stuff, why not just meet people that way? And then, yeah, because like I don't get it. And like I guess I get the socially awkward thing, because I told you about the guy that I was talking to. He seemed cool, but then it was like weird, because he was like, my friend wrote my profile, and like they said it on their profile. Like, why would you say your friend wrote your profile and then say it on your profile? That's weird. And then why when I made a joke about prostitutes, and then you're like, yeah. And then like the old guy, he was like prostitutes, and then it's like they're like with prostitutes, and it's like, why would you say this? And then another thing, because some guys are like from other countries and stuff, and I'm just thinking, because I have liberal ways and I have conservative ways, but now I understand the liberal way of like teaching sex ed and everything. I completely understand it now, because it was like when I was in school, we learned stuff about sex ed and everything. Like they gave you like the dildos, the vibrators, the condoms, and all that stuff. And I thought it was a bit much at my age, because like they'll start teaching you, well, they don't give you that at like 14 or anything. They wait till you're like 18, 17, 18. And they teach you, but you always have the choice to go learn more and go to the health clinics and stuff. But when because I was dating someone recently, and then I was talking to him, and I was just joking about something, because he was saying something, and I'm like, yeah, if you ever want to do that with me, you have to go to a clinic. And he was like, he didn't go to the doctor or anything. And I'm like, don't you go for like your work physical, like every year? Don't you go in for like a checkup and all this? And he's like, no, but he was from a different country. And I'm like, don't you go to the doctor at least twice a year? He's like, no. And like he had really good health care and everything. And he was a 6-figure man, or whatever they say. A very well-off man with great benefits and everything. He had all his stuff together. He was a good guy. Yeah, I don't know. It's sometimes, like, depending on what you want to do, it can be hard to not find a guy that's 6 figures. But then I think I understand the incel thing. But then I think, like, if you're like 6 foot, if you're like 5'11", 6 foot and over, and you're single, that's going to make me think something's wrong with you. Because it's like, why are you single? What did you do if you're that tall and you're single? Because it's like, who's not looking for a guy like 6 foot and over or close to it? Because I'm assuming if you're shorter and you're in a relationship, you probably have a great personality. But it's harder. But then lately, I've been seeing like these guys, and I I don't have like height insecurities because I'm like hella short, but I'm starting to feel like height insecurities. I feel like a giant. I'll do another video about that, but this stuff is crazy. Like the stuff that I'm like starting to recognize stuff and I'm understanding stuff. And then like the movie, it like really pointed out stuff to me, but it's like I get it, but it's a different age. And I'm like all for being like the 1950 style wife. Like I'll go, because like even with my job, I can be the 1950 style wife or whatever. Because I only, well, I work full time, but my work schedule is kind of funny because people are like, when do you work? What do you do? And then when I explain to people what I do, then they get confused. But then once I explain it more, then they're like, oh, okay. But they're like, your job is so great. My job is great sometimes until there's like a issue. But my job, if I really want it to be a stay at home, like I could have a full time job and still pretty much be a stay at home mom if I wanted to because of my work schedule. Yeah, because I could stay home with, like, if I had a kid, I could stay home with them like all day. I could be like that wife that cooks like meals and stuff and like prepares lunches and all that stuff. I could do that. I have the time to do that and I can do that with my work schedule, but not everyone can. And it's like, if you want someone to be that 1950 style wife, you're not going to get like a complete 1950 style wife because things have changed. Women are educated, women know better. But it's like, if you want that 1950 style wife, you need to be that 1950s modern version of a husband. Because like because I was like watching something and it's like, I don't know, because like a lot of these people I'm watching, I guess they're like from the South or somewhere else or something. Because it's like, what guy do you go on a date with that doesn't pay and all this stuff? Or I don't know, because I've never been on a date with a guy who doesn't pay. And then like, I don't really like to go out to dinner on dates and stuff. I've said that numerous times in videos. But like some guys will get mad because they can't take you out to a fancy dinner on a first date. And I'm not even saying like a fancy dinner, just like maybe like somewhere where like I had a guy like try and take me to like Red Lobster. And like Red Lobster, it's like, depending on what you get, that could be over $100, and then you might go do something else. Or like Olive Garden, or I've actually never had anybody. I actually have had somebody try to take me to Olive Garden, but I don't really like pasta. Well, actually, I do like pasta, but it's only sometimes. Yeah, like just like chain restaurants or something. But then, depending on where you go, the chain restaurant, because like not all chain restaurants are cheap. Because like I've gone to Red Lobster and for like two people, it's like 100 and something. Sometimes, depending on, and then if you tip, it's more than $100. Yeah, because they don't really have. I remember like back in the day, they would have that thing where you can get like two for 20 and stuff, and it's like that's rare. And then like the other place I like to go, like one place I like to go, or I used to like to go when they used to be around everywhere, Outback. And then even if you go to Outback, you're spending at least like 60 or so at Outback for like two people, depending on what you get. And I don't really even get that much. I just get like appetizers and a drink and stuff. And then like that might be 60 with a tip or without a tip. And then when you go out with the guy, like he's opening doors, doing all that nice chivalrous stuff and everything. Yeah, I don't know. And then I think it's like a bit much because, like, in California, they're saying, because like I've heard like people talk about like a guy paying all your bills and stuff if you get married or in a relationship. I think that's a bit much. It's like I can understand in like some other places in the US, but in California, I'm not going to expect someone to pay all my bills and everything. And especially if we owned a house, because that just seems mean. It was if you own a house in California and you own it on one income and you live in a nice neighborhood, that's going to be really expensive. Because I know in my neighborhood, or well, not even just in my neighborhood, in my region, to get a nice house in a nice neighborhood, you're paying at least 1.2. If you want, and that's if you get a decent sized house. If you get like a little shack or something, that might be like high eights, 900,000 or so. But to get, and you'll still be in a nice neighborhood for like 800,000, but it'll be even harder to get into the market because you don't really see stuff going for 800,000 anymore. Yeah, you're looking more like 1.2 to get something nice in like a neighborhood, like in my region that I live in. Yeah, because I know if they have another recession and prices go down, my neighborhood probably won't sell because people stay for a long time, and then when they do sell, it goes for a lot. But I will say I've begun to understand better. And and when I say I understand better, I understand from like the California perspective, because like hearing about these women that expect a man to pay all the bills, it's like if you lived in like Texas or something and a man paid all the bills, like I understand that. If you live like in Oregon and a man paid all the bills, or Nevada, somewhere like that. But if you live in like New York or California, I wouldn't expect the man to pay all the bills. But I wouldn't expect him to, but I would expect him to at certain times. Like if I was married and I had a baby, I would expect him to pay all the bills at that time because I would not be working at that time. But overall, I see it as like splitting the bills or him paying, being equal. Because also, another thing, if I got married and we bought a house, I'd want to be equal. For the simple fact, if we're equal, I get half of the house. Either way, I would get half. Because you'd either have to sell it or get half. But for that fact, I'd want to be half, but I would never share a bank account. But if I did have a husband, I'd do some 1950 stuff. Like I could cook you stuff, I could clean, do laundry, all that stuff. I can even sew on your buttons and make you clothes. All that good stuff. And I can even bake you fresh bread and stuff. And I can bake fresh bread and pastries and stuff and I can cook all that good stuff. And I don't even need recipes. But there's so many things. If I did that, and then also I would have my job because my job hours are flexible. I would still be a stay-at-home mom and work because I don't want to pay childcare. It's like, because the way my work schedule works out, if I had kids, I want him to have a flexible work schedule too. So for when the times when I would have to go to work, which wouldn't necessarily always coincide with when he would have to go to work, but he would have to watch the kids when I go to work. And then, so we could avoid childcare, because I do not want to pay childcare. And if I have at least 2 kids, that's like $6,000 a month. Because you go to childcare, and then childcare is like, depending on which one you go to, because I know the one I used to work at, it was pretty affordable at $2,300, but then I've seen some for like $3,000, and then the add-ons, because like they'll have like pizza day, burrito day, taco day, all that stuff, the different food days, and then they'll have like gymnastics, yoga, karate, and all that stuff, and then those things to do, the add-on stuff, and then there's tons of add-on stuff, and then that costs. So then you could end up spending more like $3,500 for like a basic childcare. And then if the kid's in diapers, even more. One kid, you could end up spending like $4,000, depending on what kind of daycare it is. And I'm not trying to pay $8,000 a month on some childcare. I'd rather just hang out with my kid and then go to work in my free time instead of sit home and have my kid go to daycare paying for something that I don't need to. I can take my kid to a park. But who knows? I don't have kids, so yeah, but so many things I don't understand, but I'm starting to understand better, because this incel thing is just interesting. But I understand the incels of California, but I don't understand the incels of Texas. California incel, I can understand. Yeah, I can understand. And I can even probably understand an Oregon incel. An incel from Oregon or Washington, I could probably understand. And possibly Pennsylvania and like the rural areas. So, yeah, I can understand them pretty much from most places except for probably like Texas. Yeah, and only reason I say Texas because Texas just seems like they have so many opportunities there. And then it's a good population. And then if you can't find someone in Texas, go north of Texas or go south of Texas. And it's like, if you're an American citizen and you're in Texas and you can't find someone, that's making me think, what's going on right there? Because even if you couldn't find someone that genuinely liked you, you couldn't go across the border to find someone that wanted to come to America that would marry you. That's what's making me think, okay, Texas, I can understand everywhere but Texas for the incels. Because I would assume if you're an American citizen and people are trying to get across the border and you couldn't get one of them to marry you, what's going on? So I understand things, but then Texas, and yeah. And in Florida, I can't understand an incel from Florida either. Because it's like you have so many people from Cuba, Haiti that are coming over, and they won't marry you to become citizens. So, yeah. Because, like, certain things, even in the Southern California incel, I couldn't really understand that either. Because you have all these people crossing the border that want to be citizens, but you can't get one to marry you. Or are you just that picky? Because I would say if you're a man and you're an incel and you're looking for someone, most likely the woman's going to be shorter than you. So I would think that would be fine. But like, I'm not an incel, but if I was like that desperate to find a husband and I went to the border, I might not have as much luck. Because I don't know. I'll get into a height conversation later, but I just feel like a fucking giant. Yeah, but that's the end of this video. Like, subscribe, and enjoy. Thanks.